As you may know, the Trump administration has been arresting immigrants when they show up at federal courthouses for their own immigration hearings. That's become a tactic of theirs. It's a completely dirty fear-mongering tactic they use to try to run up their deportation numbers. That's why they do it. It's also been widely denounced, not just because it's dirty, because it discourages immigrants from following the law and showing up for their own hearings, which is exactly what people are doing who are showing up to the courthouse. One of the ways the Democratic officials have tried to push back on this tactic is by showing up at courthouses themselves to act as escorts for those immigrants who are, again, just trying to follow the law. New York City Comptroller Brad Lander has been volunteering as an immigrant escort for the past 3 weeks. That was what he was doing today, just before he was arrested, escorting an immigrant who had shown up for his hearing. And this is what happened next.
Move down, because they'll keep you working. What's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Out of the way. You have a judicial warrant. Show me the judicial warrant. You have a judicial warrant. Give me your warrant. You have a judicial warrant. Stop pushing. Do you have a judicial warrant? Can I see the judicial warrant?
You have the warrant. You don't have a warrant.
I will let go when you show me the judicial warrant. Where is it? Sir, I have it in my hand here. You're obstructing. Sir, you're obstructing. I would let go. I need the warrant. Let go. The warrant. No. Take it back. Take it back. You don't have authority. You don't have authority to arrest U.S. citizens. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens. You don't have the, I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway. I asked to see the judicial warrant. By asking for a judicial warrant, you don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens asking for a judicial warrant.
To be clear, he was holding on to the immigrant he was escorting. That was part of what he was doing there. And according to a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security, Lander was arrested for assaulting law enforcement and impeding a federal officer. Yes, you heard that right. I mean, you just saw the video. That's why we played it. It's important to see the whole thing. Maybe you've already seen it today. And the Department of Homeland Security is trying to say it was Lander who was doing the assaulting. About 4 hours later, he was released, a little under 4 hours, from detention without facing charges.
I'm New York City Comptroller Brad Lander, and I'm happy to report I am just fine. I'm going to sleep in my bed tonight, safe with my family. I'm grateful to hear that the charges are not being brought, but if they are, I've got a lawyer. I don't have to worry about my due process rights. At that elevator, I was separated from someone named Edgardo, who I had just met a couple of minutes earlier. Edgardo is in ICE detention, and he's not going to sleep in his bed tonight. So far as I know, he has no lawyer. He has been stripped of his due process rights. I will be fine, but Edgardo is not going to be fine. And the rule of law is not fine. And our constitutional democracy is not fine.
An elected official, candidate for mayor, being forcefully detained while exercising his right to escort an immigrant, Edgardo, in a courthouse, and for asking a very legitimate question of federal law enforcement that anyone should be asking. The thing is this is not at all an isolated incident. I mean, if that scene feels familiar, and it probably does feel familiar, it's probably because it's remarkably similar to what happened to Senator Alex Padilla at a DHS press conference just last week. When Senator Padilla attempted to ask Secretary Kristi Noem a simple question about federal troops in his state, he was forcibly removed from the room, forced to the ground, handcuffed, and briefly detained by law enforcement. Well, today, at eerily nearly this exact same time that Brad Lander was being arrested in New York, Senator Padilla delivered his first speech on the Senate floor since his own detention. Here's part of what he said.
You've seen the video. I was pushed and pulled, struggled to maintain my balance. I was forced to the ground, first on my knees and then flat on my chest. And as I was handcuffed and marched down a hallway, repeatedly asking, why am I being detained? Not once did they tell me why. I pray you never have a moment like this. But I will tell you, in that moment, a lot of questions came to my mind. And what will a city already on edge from being militarized think when they see their United States senator being handcuffed just for trying to ask a question? And what will my wife think? What will our boys think?
I mean, these confrontations are happening more and more frequently, and they fit an incredibly disturbing pattern. We saw it in Newark, New Jersey, with the arrest of Newark Mayor Ras Baraka and the eventual charges brought against Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. We saw it with two members of Congress, Jimmy Gomez and Norma Torres, who were denied entry to an ICE facility in California, even though every member of Congress is allowed to do that by law. They don't even have to give notice. Congressman Gomez and Congresswoman Torres say ICE deployed a chemical irritant to keep them out. And we've seen it with other civic leaders, too, like Union President David Huerta, who was forcefully arrested by ICE and charged with impeding federal officers. And we've even seen this administration arrest a member of the judiciary, handcuffing a Wisconsin judge who they allege tried to help an immigrant evade arrest while leaving her courtroom. The Trump administration is getting more aggressive about arresting or detaining these public officials. They are trying to normalize it. But with each new incident, people are learning how to stand up and fight back. This was the scene outside the federal building in New York just moments after Brad Lander was arrested. People showing up in droves to protest his arrest, holding up hastily made cardboard signs like the one you see there that says things like, "Release Lander." Now, I mentioned that Brad Lander is running for mayor of New York right now, New York City right now, and he's facing, of course, a lot of competition in the Democratic primary, which will be held just 1 week from today. But within minutes of his arrest, no less than 4 of his Democratic primary opponents rushed down to the federal building to stand with him, not just to show support, but they also talked about his leadership, too.
Let's be very clear. We are not here as candidates. We're here as New Yorkers. We're here to do what's right.
We are standing here in unity. All of us see what is going on.
He didn't just talk the talk. Today, he walked the walk, and I want to praise him for that.
He showed us what leadership can look like. And for that, he was arrested. And we have to be clear about this. This is not about an election. This is about ensuring that we protect the city and the country that we love.
Again, all of those Democrats you just saw are running against Brad Lander, and they're all running for this mayoral primary that is taking place next week. Early voting is happening. But today they stood shoulder to shoulder with each other, calling for his release.